Memories are really weird things. We just remember the most mundane stuff. And here in Birmingham, it's just one big walk down memory lane for me. Behind me there is the Toys R Us that I used to go to as a kid. My first SNES, Super Nintendo, came from there. I've still got that now. Just here, the Wimpy that I used to go to with my nan. Both of those have now closed. The Toys R Us closed before it was cool to close Toys R Us's. And me being here has made me realise something. They've demolished the McDonald's. Everything changes. So I grew up in a small town on the edge of the city. But in my head, this is still the city that I grew up in. And I could keep on pointing out things that have changed. Because so much has changed. But I'm here to relive one last memory for the last time that I'll be able to relive it. And for that, of course, we need to go to New Street Station. Back in my day, and it depresses me that I can use that term now, unironically, New Street was a very different place. I wouldn't even be able to stand here because I'd have been in the middle of the inner ring road. None of that cladding was there. The old New Street is still there, under all of that. Now, I didn't get to visit the city often. I didn't live near a station, so if I was coming in, it would either be on the 143 bus or we'd drive in. But on the days that we got the train in, it was glorious. This is where our journeys would begin from. Longbridge Station. It was a small 1970s style station back in the day. It's still there under that modern facade. Is literally a station that I remember. The panelling doesn't make that go away. There was no car park here. We'd park the car down in Tassel Lane and then walk into the station, which I'm going to do now. This whole area was completely different back then. You had the Rover factory towering over you. Very, very different. Even down on the platform, I'd find so many things here that just fascinate me. Like just beyond the station is where the line used to go over towards Halesowen and the Rover factory. There was still a fair amount of that there back in my day, but most of it's gone now. There's the old steps down to the platform, because that part of the platform is now not in use. It was extended as part of the 323s being introduced. Look, I'm trying to reminisce. We don't need Voyagers ruining the day. Luckily, they didn't exist back then.
This service to Lichfield Trent Valley.
Making our way into Birmingham, we'd pass through Northfield and Kings Norton.
We are now approaching Northfield.
I was always fascinated by the abandoned island platforms, imagining the days when trains used to stop there.
We are now approaching Kings Norton.
And wondering to myself why they didn't anymore.
We are now approaching Bourneville.
The Cadbury factory on the left as we go through Bourneville. My nan used to work there. Every Christmas I'd go with her to pick up a big package of various chocolates I used to give to all their former staff.
We are now approaching Selly Oak.
Further along, we pass Selly Oak and start running alongside the canal. I've loved canals even back then. You can imagine my delight later in my childhood when we had a boat and brought it into Birmingham along this very route.
The next station is Five Ways.
Then we get to Five Ways, and just like that, we were in darkness. Just like today, that's the sign that you're nearly in Birmingham. One more flash of daylight before you pull to a halt under the Palisades shopping centre. As we're pulling into Birmingham New Street, it seems like a perfect opportunity to say a massive thank you to my lovely Patreons. They're all scrolling on screen right now. If you want to get your name onto this list, the links to do so are in the description, but massive, massive thank you to you guys. I love you all. The doors open and you're directly in the midst of city centre life, a whole different world to the sleepy town of Bromsgrove. Going up the escalators, you would find yourself into the old, orange, slightly darker corridor. I think roughly where the red zone is now is basically where that old original concourse was. Coming out into the concourse these days is a very, very different experience. It's got natural light and all of that. Roughly, I think about where I'm stood now, escalators up to the Palisades shopping centre, and that's where we would enter into the rest of the city. Back in my day, there definitely wasn't a giant ball. I didn't realise that thing moves. Up here in the Palisades, you could literally go anywhere. You could go out to the ramp, grab yourself a Mackey's, visit the Woolworths. I used to love Woolworths. You could head out over the bridge into the old Bullring. I remember going to some kind of like Lego show that was in one of the squares in there. It's weird the things you remember, isn't it? As you moved around the station, the announcements of the late Phil Sawyer would ring out.
Birmingham New Street, this is Birmingham New Street. The train now standing at platform 8A is the 10:09 Central Train Service to Lichfield Trent Valley.
I mean, these memories are all like amalgamated over various years, so this was all generally the 90s. If you did choose to come out this way, you were in a dark, dingy taxi rank at the front of the station. If you know where to look, you can still find remnants of 60s Birmingham. The city was our oyster, and it was the Class 323 train that had brought us here, and it's what's brought me here today. In some ways, I do miss Birmingham, you know. Might call myself an honorary northerner these days, but it's Birmingham, innit? To many people, it's just a train, and a lot of objects are just objects to a lot of people, but this is how we build memories, based on the things that we grew up with, the things that we see. For me, it was literally the train that started my interest in trains, transport, and everything in between. It was the thing that kicked off the journey that has led to me here, standing in front of a camera just for YouTube. For me, the Class 323 is where it all started, and it's going to be a shame to see it go. This is the last day that the Class 323s are running here in Birmingham. Their Birmingham story is coming to a close, but their next chapter is just beginning. I didn't know it when I was a kid, but the Class 323s were also running up in Manchester. I like to think that their sounds were giving some joy to Mancunian kids. Like a lot of things from Birmingham, myself included, it's time for the remaining ones to make their trip up north and join me in Manchester. They've still got a good few years left in them, and I'm sure I'm going to ride many, many more. So I won't be able to relive my memories on the Cross City line, but I can now hop on a Class 323 on my doorstep. Change isn't a bad thing. Their replacements are amazing trains, but it doesn't hurt to come back to Birmingham, relive a few memories, reminisce over good times. Those 730s are going to do wonders on the Cross City line. But they're not my trains. On that note, I think it's time that I left a link here to the next video I think you should watch. And until next time, bye-bye.